All right, let's get started. Looks like we've got 45 guys on here. Thank you all for joining. I hope we can do this every Monday. Sometimes there's some conflicts, but this is good stuff. And I always love starting off the season with our favorite white hat in the NFL. Scott, I think you've probably heard me say he loves to give back to CFOA and has been at our clinics. And every time we talk to Scott, there's something that I get out of it that I go, gosh, I can't believe I didn't even think of that. I didn't know that. And he's been a good friend of ours. I've asked Joel Polgar to join as well to kind of monitor the chat and kind of help me through this. Just a quick advertisement. Joel and I did some podcasts over the summer, Your First Downs, and maybe you've seen those. If you're new to officiating, it's some great stuff. Again, I learned stuff from every one of those, and it's good to just listen and pick up things. So Joel, thank you for putting those together. They were fun. So Scott, a lot of times we start off, I want to know what it's like being an NFL ref. You've got 10 years under your belt in the NFL now, and a BCS national championship back in 2012, Alabama, LSU, some just crazy highlights in a career. Tell us about NFL white hat role, and I'm gonna ask you questions as we go along. Tell us about what's going on with the NFL for you.
Well, it's and thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here. I really enjoy being able to give back and work with the guys. But in the NFL right now, things are really, really hectic as usual. This seems like a 24/7, 365 kind of job. I think the demands they put on us really dictate and mandate that we do put in that much time to be where we're at. It's expected that you're. Obviously they say you're the best at what you do, and they expect us to make sure that we are prepared in every single way. So physically, mentally, and everything else that we do with the film, about being in the league. So it's there's a lot of responsibility. Obviously, we all have families, we all have jobs, we have everything, we have life. You've got your life that you have to worry about as well. So just trying to mix everything in has always been a delicate balance. I thought that. High school football for me was fun. It was very competitive, but it got to be when you got very serious about it. It got to be to where you were putting in a lot of time. And as you move up into the RMAC and Division I, the time demands just get more and more. So I certainly understand the frustrations of sitting in the car trying to get from North Denver down to somewhere south in Denver on a Friday night just for a game. I get it. I mean, it's hard. I bitch and moan about just air travel because, for those of you that fly around for business or just pleasure, I mean, that's even a nightmare. So you put that all together, and certainly you don't want to complain about it because it's a privilege to be where we're at, but it's a lot of work as well. So you just kind of take the good with the bad and the expectations and the death threats and everything that kind of come through, come with it, and you just deal with it. And hopefully at the end of the day, even at the high school level, we're expected to be perfect all the time. And we are going to make mistakes. So that's part of what we have to deal with, and the scrutiny and the 36 or 40 cameras that get to see us on a basis, and we have anywhere between 0.3 to 0.8 of a second to make a decision. So you do the math and figure that out and see how well we do, and know that it's really a tough job. It really is, but it's very enjoyable.
Hey, Scott, I had a quick question. So, I mean, as you move up the ranks in college, right, you go to D2, then D1 officials kind of grade your film. Once you get to the NFL, who grades your film? I mean, who reviews your game and said, that's a good call, that's a bad call, et cetera?
So, I mean, obviously, we have folks that grade our games. They're ex-officials. So in the league, my boss, Walt Anderson, was my boss in the Big 12. So guys like that grade our film. So we've got somebody, Joel, that's grading us that's kind of been there, done that at that level. Now, that being said, there's other people, I'm sure, in other parts of 345 Park Avenue that have to say so on how they feel things go. But again, you've got a lot of eyeballs looking at everything, and we are graded on every play of every game. Even if we don't pull the flag out of our pocket, we're graded on position and everything else. So, but those are typically the folks that are looking at our stuff right now.
So Scott, take me back. I want to live vicariously through you. You guys leave for your stadium location or city on Friday or Saturday?
So Sunday games, we leave Saturday. Pre-games are sometime that Saturday. Then there's a meal we try to have together, and then I like to give guys the night off to relax, do whatever they want, go to the gym, just, talk to their family, whatever. Next morning comes around, and then we sit there and jump on the bus, get to the stadium 3 hours before the game. A lot of meetings and things that I have to do personally while the other guys are getting ready for the game. We work the game, and then we're whisked away, usually with a police escort, right to the airport, and we're home sometime Sunday night, Monday morning, just depending on where we're traveling from.
How long's that pregame on Saturday?
Honestly, Kirk, I really like to keep it to about an hour 15. And just, again, I get everybody involved. People don't want to listen to me talk for an hour and 15 minutes, so everybody's got a piece of it. I probably honestly talk about 7 minutes during the pregame in that hour and 15. So everyone else has got a piece, but I like to just keep it very scripted, to the point. There are tapes and training things from the office that get sent out every week. I ask the guys to do that on their own, and sometimes they get to it. And then if not, they'll certainly look at that stuff before we kick off, maybe the night before the game or whatever. But I just like to cover stuff and get through. T. Miles, Terrence Miles is my back judge. He does all my scout stuff. So the team stuff, we go over there. But really, it's about getting ready for that game and then preparing ourselves for the next week as well.
You said post game, you guys are whisked away and then put back on an airplane and head back home. So you're home back usually the night after, or that night, unless it's a Monday night game.
Yeah, that night. And then I saw Don threw something in the chat. Donnie, it's good to hear from you and see you. The league will send out training tapes, but if the teams that we have that week, like we did last week, Minnesota, Tampa Bay, if they have concerns, the team will send in plays. Those usually go through Walt Anderson. That Walt will pick up the phone and call me and say, hey, I'm going to send over, 10, 15 plays, whatever, 5, whatever that the team has. And we look at those as a crew and make sure that we're aware of the concerns, because when we talk to the coaches before the game, that's the first thing that you want to let them know. Hey, if you're the coach, Kirk, I'm aware of the concerns in the film that you sent in. Is there anything else that you want me to be aware of? So that's, you want them to know that we saw that. So
you're doing that at the pregame on the field. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. When I'm talking to the coaches, sometime about 15 minutes before the field, that's my only interaction. We do have other at the 90 minutes before kickoff. 2 of my guys will each go to each team and talk to the coaches and just kind of get some general stuff. But that is my first interaction with them. And everybody's nice, everybody's warm. How's the family? How the But as soon as the ball's kicked off, everything changes, and that's okay, because we know what we all sign up for. It's no different on Friday night. Trust me. Dave Logan's the nicest guy before kickoff, and as soon as you kick off, he just seems to change. Is that right?
It's amazing how that works.
Yeah. It is.
So it didn't change. It doesn't change when they're making millions of dollars coaching the NFL. Same guys.
Yeah. I think someone else put something in the chat. I'm sorry, I don't mean to jump in. I can just go ahead and have it. When you started your ref career way back, first middle school JV game. Oh yeah, God. I did some little kids ball, and he'll probably embellish a little bit of it, but I can't make this stuff up. I worked a lot with Steve Hall back in the Jeffco midget football. That was kind of my eye opening. And my God, if you can get through putting up with coaches and parents, and you can actually survive that first year, you get a good shot of making it. But it was, I ended up working a Carnation Bowl with Steve that game, and he called 7 false starts on a 13-year-old team from Lakewood. Inside the 5-yard line. I said, Jesus, Steve, let him snap the ball, will you? But those are good memories. And trust me, there's still guys, the Jim Whitties of the world. Kirk, I'm not sure if we ever got to work a game back then, in those days, but you don't forget those days, because that's where you start. And very thankful for those.
Scott, a question we've got when Kirk mentioned the podcast, how long is that journey to the NFL? So a lot of guys, that even are just starting out today, they have ambitions to get where you are. I mean, is that a 10-year journey, 15-year journey, 20-year journey from that midget football game with Steve? How long did it take you to get to the NFL?
Yeah, good question, Joel. There's not a set time frame. I know back in the day, things have changed now, but I'll be honest with you. They used to say you had to work so many years at a certain level before you moved up levels. But now I think the game's kind of changed a little bit to where and who they're looking at. So my particular journey, I think I spent 6-7 years in high school. I got hired into Division II, worked 1 year there, and then got hired into Division I, 10 years there, and then I've been 10 years in the NFL. So it's, there's really not a set timetable. I think, and shoot, even I'll raise my hand. I probably worked a couple of years of high school and thought I was ready for the NFL. But let's be honest, it's I think we all think we're much better than we really are. And really, once we get to that next level, whatever it is, it's an eye opener. So even when you work in the RMAC, it's just kind of a blur. Especially when you get to Division I, it's just faster, and in the NFL, it's a whole other beast. So I always tell everybody, be the best at whatever level you're at. I think it's, from the journey standpoint, yeah, sure, it helps if you're younger, because I think they like to get younger folks in. But you know what? That doesn't preclude them from hiring folks that are in their 30s, 40s, or 50s in the Division I level or whatever. But if you're good enough, they will find you. And thankfully, it wasn't back in my day. There wasn't anybody pushing anybody per se, kind of guiding them or mentoring them along. I really try to mentor people right now as much as I can. So if I see someone, Joel, that I think has potential, my God, I want to move them through the ranks. And sometimes there's a little friction. Let's be fair. I know when I worked, some of the high school guys kind of looked at you for like, why do you want to be at college? Hey, it's okay. I get that, and that's all part of the deal. But I think if someone's got potential, male, female, whoever, and you really just want to move them in the ranks, because I know we're hurting at the high school level for officials, but we really need good bodies as you move up the chain as well.
Yeah. So another question came in the chat. I don't know if you saw it, Scott, but is there some kind of scoreboard that the coaches in the NFL see? Like, do they know, where your crew kind of ranks in terms of good calls, bad calls versus some other crew? Do they know the crew that's coming in and so forth?
I like Bob's question, and who is sucking, group or individual?
I was trying to be nice.
Yeah, that's okay. I like that. That's fair. I think they get notified. Bob, they get notified 10 days before the game of who they have working. From a ranking standpoint, I don't know how people get ranked. I know our own organization and Walt ranks the officials, and those are all used for playoff assignments and things of that nature. So I don't think there's really. I don't think there's a numbered system to say, okay, we've got the number 17 crew coming in to work our game this week, or we have the number 1 crew. I think they're very aware of who the referees are, because they deal with us, the most. And every crew, for the most part, like this year, there were 12 rookies that came in the league. So most of the crews have a rookie. And it's just like everything else. They like to go after those rookies, and they like to test them. It's no different than when you and I worked in the high school. Where did we work? We worked on the line of scrimmage, and man, those coaches were right in our back pocket the entire game, trying to work for every call. So there's not really a numbered system to say, okay, Novak screws coming in. Okay, they're number 17 out of 17. It's not like that. But they know who we are. They scout us as much as we scout them, so they know what we like to call. They do now, to Bob's point, they do have a list of fouls that we call. So if we like to call a lot of holding or a lot of roughing the passer or a lot of defensive pass interference, they have that. So that might change a little bit of their game plan that week to say, okay, Novak's crew's in, they call a lot of holding, so we need to watch what we're doing. So they may change a little bit schematically what they do week to week just based on who comes in. But I wouldn't say there's necessarily a ranking numbered system of the guys or crews that come in.
So Scott, this might be the toughest question of the night. Can you help us? What characteristics did you bring into officiating that helped you move up? And I know you're a very, very modest guy. Can you just, is there something you can say, you know what, I think because I was this, and maybe it was a season in your career that made that opportunity available? Do you have an answer to what characteristics does Scott had that made him able to move up through the college ranks so well and then into the NFL?
Yeah, when I started, I always tell this very, very consistent story. When I started in high school, Mike Contreras, Rich Zernicke, and Dan Weichel, 3 guys that I looked after. Those were my 3 guys. They weren't my mentors per se, but when I went out and watched guys, they were kind of at the top of the high school level. And I just kind of picked pieces from each of them. Contreras hustled everywhere. Rich Zernicke just had a presence about him, just so calm, in control. Dan Weichel kind of had that little, sergeant. He was just in control. He had kind of an attitude out there, but nobody messed with him. So I kind of just took little pieces and made them part of myself. And I think as you go through, the good officials, we're not just our own official. If we're really paying attention to the game and watching other people, I am a little bit of a lot of people, and I really use that. To be it. And I see John Tracy send that in. My first year getting into college, I failed the rules test. They took a game away from me. I was so bad, I don't even think I got my name right. So right after that, Thankfully, I didn't jump off of the ledge there at the Embassy Suites in Las Vegas. I really took it upon myself to learn the rules. So there's certain things that get thrown your way, but I've always watched people. I like this, I don't like this, and I've tried to really incorporate that into my game. So I am collectively a piece of a lot of different people, and those three guys that I mentioned are really how I got my start. But as you go through, the other part of it is life skills, business skills. If you're good in business and you're really good in the corporate world, that can help you deal with the coaches and vice versa. I mean, if you can deal with some of the coaches that we have to deal with, I think that helps you in the boardroom or the business. I mean, it's just everything kind of goes really hand in hand if you look at it. And if you do a good job on the field, I think it can help you, in the business world. The hard thing that I think that we always struggle with is the family life. That is very tough. I'll just be honest with you. I probably get a little bit too consumed with officiating, and that's always been a negative of mine, and it negatively impacts my wife or my kids or whatever. And that's something I can't tell you how to do it. I didn't write the book, but man, you've got to find a balance. You got to find a way to get them involved, because again, I think sometimes they think on a Friday night we're just out there having a great time, and we go work the game and we go out and have pizza and beers with the guys, and they think it's just a big party, and we know it's not. There's a lot that goes into it, but that's something that I think we all struggle with. And the more that the higher up that we go, the time demands become more, and it makes it harder and harder to be a good family person. And Kirk, because our kids play football against each other. I didn't get to see my son play a lot of football, and that's something that once that's gone, you can't get that back. So sometimes there's some tough choices that you need to make. But if you're really if you're into what you're doing in the officiating, you really got to find a way to balance that family life.
Boy, amen to that. I know that's tough for a lot of guys, including myself. I get so wrapped into game film and talking to, the eyes roll, my wife's eyes roll when the phone rings, because she knows it's another official's call that she's got to listen to me get all animated and excited about. So
yeah, Dan Venable had a question. Great question. Any NFL prior military? Absolutely. We've got 3 on-field officials that served in the military, and my replay official was in the Coast Guard. So absolutely. And November for us is Military Salute to Service Month. October for us is try to cancer awareness. But all November is our salute to service. But yes, Dan, we did have folks that were in the military. Thank you for your service. And yes, again, man, send me your information. It's hard if you're currently in the military to balance that, because I know you have commitments on the weekend. So again, you just have to kind of figure out how to balance that. But those guys are ex-military, but they did serve, and there are some that are working in the NFL right now.
all right, Scott, I'm going to shift gears. We got about 5 more minutes. I always want to pull some stuff out of your head, the way you look at things, because it can help us at any level. The way you look at things, and I chose roughing the kicker, in this case, roughing the punter. I've got a few clips just for some conversation. I don't know that we necessarily have to focus on the clips, but maybe take us to when you're back there watching an NFL punter getting ready to kick, and it's still football, your level and our level. What goes through your mind? What is your pre-snap? What are you processing? Help us think like you guys do as a white hat back there.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain areas that I look at, and the umpire's back there with me. But I'm sometimes secretly I say, hey, just get the damn kick off and no pressure, because as pressure starts coming to the kicker, you pucker a little bit. But from our standpoint in the roughing, really any violent contact with the plant leg, we would make that a roughing call. And then any what we would call violent or unnecessary contact to the body, we would make that roughing as well. If we just hit the kicking leg, we normally make that a 5-yard, what we call running into. But really, we're looking at blocks. And in this picture, the left tackle needs to get up on the line of scrimmage, but that's okay. But in this, there's really nothing, because the defender doesn't lay out. He doesn't really do anything unnecessary to the kicker. It looks like he doesn't want to block the kick as much as the punter really actually wants to punt it in this one. So,
yeah, I think I pulled this one out because that kicker does an extra step, which I think causes the contact. Not that it was enough contact to even warrant.
Yeah, and the other thing too, which we don't get in our game much, Kirk, we did in college. There are these kickers that like to run outside and sprint and kick it on the run. If that were to happen, all the roughing is off. He's on his own. Now, if he gets hit in the head, that's a different deal. But as far as any body contact or anything that would be construed roughing while he's just stationary, he loses that protection as if he's on the run.
Do you guys have any different ruling if the ball is dropped?
Yes, yeah. If the ball on the snap, if the snap hits the ground or the punter drops the ball and then picks it up, roughing or running into is off. The only thing that can happen again is violent contact either to the head neck area or some type of unnecessary act to where you just blow him up. But if he drops the ball like right here, running into or roughing is off. So right there, I have nothing. In our game, that's absolutely nothing. It looks vicious. He hits the ground, but it's nothing.
I can't say we don't have a nothing rule, but I certainly would think we would lean towards, again, it's the defense has to have an opportunity to be aware that it's going to be a kick. They have to have confidence that the ball is going to get kicked. And when that ball's on the ground like that, as they're approaching, it's a different.
Yeah, he's approaching. The defender's already committed himself. So he's committed. So there's going to be a collision here. You just have to understand that. So again, unless it's unnecessary to where he launches and hits him in the head, this body contact, because the defender's already committed himself, is legal and it's not a foul.
How about position-wise? Where are you relative to the punter?
So, in this, it's a little different because we're short-sided, short field, but in a regular situation, I try to be about 5 to 7 yards behind the punter and probably about 7 to 9 yards wide. So typically if you were to put a tight end in the formation, I'm about where the tight end would be and about 5 to 7 yards behind the punter.
So about 45 degrees off, 7 to 9 away each direction.
Correct. Yeah, I wouldn't be that wide. Oh, good call. That's a good call. So I would have that as running into right there because both feet came down, and then he got rolled into.
This is our buddy George Demetrio back in our narrow stripe days. Some of you may not know this, but Scott Novak came to me when I was CFOA president and says, "You guys need to get some different shirts." And so we worked together to get modern in our stripes. Took us a little while, but we got there. Looks good.
The other hard thing about this too, and you know what? Sometimes the guys get blocked into the punter. The free rushers, or you've got them on your own. But in this, that personal, the PP, the protector there, did he push him into the kicker? That's something else that you have to take a look at here. So, 12, does that force of the push him into the punter? So it takes him off the foul, or was he going to hit him anyway? So George has got some decisions he's going to make on this play.
Yeah, I like this one because the foot actually came down before the contact, or real shortly after, or shortly before.
So if I don't think the block had anything to do with it, the punter has come back down to the ground. So all I would have here is running into the kicker.
Because his foot was down.
Because he's down and he's back on the ground.
He's not in that vulnerable kick pose.
Yeah, and to me, the contact is probably thigh waist area. So I don't think it's. And again, I really think that 12 causes this contact because he pushes him and kind of grabs him and throws him in. So if I rule that, then I have nothing, and I've got to flip my microphone on and say there is no foul for running or roughing the kicker. He was blocked in by number 12. Boom. So everybody knows what I have, and then of course the kicking team, the coach is going to want to scream at me for a while, and that's okay.
So you guys are always good. I know when we have parents joining us, I love how you guys think through your pre-snap information. Is there anything in your pre-kick, pre-snap that's going through your mind?
Yeah, so first we have to check off our formations. Our punting team has to be in what we call a standard formation. So they have to be aligned in a certain way. That's the first thing. And then once we get that, I always look to see where the defensive team is. Are they overloading a side? Are they overloading the middle to where we might get a pull and shoot, or get some guy to get occupied as a double team so somebody shoots the gap? And a lot of that's just done on scouting the team. So really, I think you need to look at the defensive team, know what the down and distance are, know where you are on the field. For the most part, they don't rush every kick. They're not coming. Sometimes they're setting up a return, but you just have to know based on where the defense is lined up and where they are, and that's probably going to tell you where you need to look. That being said, I always look. Me personally, I have the personal protector, and I have the away side wingman is where I look. But as pressure comes to the punter, I then go to that pressure, just like a quarterback. If he's dropping back to pass, I've got my area responsibility. But if somebody's bearing down on the quarterback, I got to get to that action right away.
Is that punter 100% yours?
Absolutely. If he kicks it clean, I need to know what his number is, because if he goes down, he has personal protection all the way through the play. So he's afforded that type of protection. So I got to know that number 6 is my punter, and if he goes down and gets waylaid, no matter where he is, unless he's trying to make the tackle, but if he's not involved in the play and somebody just takes a shot at him, he's got protection that a quarterback or a defenseless player protection that someone else would have throughout the remainder of the down. Because again, if the punter gets hurt, teams usually only have one punter. They only have one kicker, and in the case of the Jets, there's only one Aaron Rodgers. So when those folks get hurt, that changes the complexity of the game. So we really need to protect them as much as we can.
Well, it's interesting. You talked about formation, and this play is in here because of the alignment of the punter. You can see he's only 5 yards off the ball.
Yeah.
He's still protected as a punter in our rule book because he ends up kicking the ball. But again, does the defense know he's going to punt the ball? If he's lined up right there, I don't think there's assurance that they can't tackle him. So I think we just changed the way we're officiating, especially in a situation like this. And just like you were saying, in the rugby kick space, is he going to kick it or is he going to run it? So I think we give him a lot more freedom to be a football player as opposed to a punter.
In our game, they lose protection here because they're not in quote unquote scrimmage kick formation where he's back 12 to 15 yards. Because again, here, you don't know what he's going to do. This is probably, quick kick or whatever. So he loses protection.
All right. Anything else come in the,
No, it's been quiet in the chat window.
I love to try to keep us halfway close to the halftime. Tomorrow night, we'll probably keep it a little tighter, Scott, so we can watch you guys officiate. We don't watch the game as much as we watch the officials. That's how we do.
That's the way I watch a game too. I watch it totally different. I do see, Merrick, are there common or frequently discussed pregame topics? No, other than what we're doing on a week-to-week basis and the needs, hotel needs, food, stuff like that, it's usually different stuff I try to bring to the table where the guys discuss every week so that we keep it fresh and it's not just mundane and talking about the same thing. And then I don't know if we touched this, Carter mentioned their demands. I read an article wants officials to be year-round. Technically we are year-round, let's be fair, with the demands that we place. We'd love to make that year-round money, but the league determines us much different than the NBA or the NHL or the MLB, where they're full-time and we're quote-unquote not full-time. So.
Joel, you got any last questions?
No, it's always good to talk to Scott, and I'm glad he could find the time to join us tonight. So very informative 20 minutes.
Yeah, Scott, you're the best. I appreciate you joining us, and we wish you the best. Thank you for taking the time to join us.
Yeah, thank you, and everybody on the call, man. Enjoy this season. It's a bumpy ride sometimes, but you guys have fun out there and enjoy what you're doing.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it. All right, have a good night, y'all. Thanks for joining.